Howdy, this is the Views from the Shop podcast. I'm your host, your one and only host, Tim Miller, and today it is Monday, October 28th, 2024, and I wish you a very, very, very happy Plush Animal Lovers Day. Today's show is presented exclusively by CBB Analytics. Go to cbbanalytics.com right now, so long as it's safe, and you should sign up for a free account to get access to some stats that your Ohio State Buckeyes and others across the nation use to get ready for the upcoming season and game plan as well. And if you decide to go with a paid account, that's fine. We're not against that here on this show. We actually endorse it, and you'll get access to all the stats, not just some, all the stats and analytics that some Division I college basketball programs are using probably this very second as they get ready for the upcoming season. We are a week away, exactly 7 days away from Ohio State tipping off against Texas. And not only that, but the rest of the college basketball world awakens on November 4th, that Monday, a week from today. College basketball will finally be back. Now, if you're coming back here and you haven't listened to the show in a while, or we've had an infusion of new followers and listeners and subscribers, all those types of things. If you're new here, be advised, this is the only Ohio State basketball exclusive year-round, regularly scheduled podcast. If you haven't subscribed yet, I would encourage you to do so. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit subscribe. That would mean the world to me, and also would be a good thing for you. If you're listening on podcasts, subscribe as well. You may think you're subscribed. Just be sure, just because it's showing up on your feed, that just means that little algorithm, maybe the government, nanobots, who knows, they are simply out there trying to feed you what you like. Make sure you're subscribed. It helps the show. And we thank the nanobots for bringing the show to you. So today, I need to share some stats with you. You might have seen this on Twitter last night. I got some stats for you. I have many more that I could share, but this show is growing, and because the basketball season is about to begin, I expect more growth. 386% increase in YouTube views, 500% increase in YouTube subscriptions, and a 166% increase in impressions on Twitter over the past calendar month. That's great numbers. I thank you. Please keep the momentum going. I appreciate all the love, and I send all the love back to you. Moi, moi. So subscribe if you haven't. Today's show is a mailbag. We're in the final week of the, well, as some call it, the offseason. We just call it the part of the season where Ohio State basketball may not necessarily be played during that time. That's fine. There's a lot going on. Ohio State had a secret scrimmage yesterday. We're going to cover that. Ohio State had a bunch of visitors on the basketball side visiting Ohio State over the weekend, watching Ohio State take on Nebraska. We're going to cover that. I've got maybe a dozen or so questions here. So we're going to get them. We're going to get them while it's hot. And if I missed your question, I'm sorry. I probably should have timed the tweet a little bit better. That's my fault. Regardless, I wouldn't have been able to answer many more anyway. And just so you're aware, I'm hoping, it's not finalized, but we're expecting a special guest on Wednesday. So make sure you subscribe for that. It's kind of the special guest when it comes to Ohio State basketball. Then on Friday, one more episode where we will cover predictions. It will be our predictions extravaganza, not just for Ohio State, for the Big Ten, for the NCAA basketball world at large. And then Sunday evening, just again, make sure you're subscribed wherever you get this podcast, and especially on YouTube. If you typically listen to the show on podcast, which I know most people do, if you typically do, that's fine. Go subscribe on YouTube. I'm just going to say that Sunday we're going to come out with a show. It's going to be good. We're going to preview Texas, and there might be a bit of a surprise there. So we'll see. All right. We've got a mailbag, and I'm doing the first thing. For the first time ever, I'm going to do something new. Not for the first time ever, but in this regard, this is something new in regards to the podcast. How's that for words? I'm going to ask my own question to start this show, because apparently no one else asked it, which I guess means no one really cares, but I care. So I'm going to talk about it. Ohio State had a big recruiting weekend on Saturday and Friday, even, and maybe even on Sunday. Who knows? Probably not on Sunday. I don't know. They had a big recruiting weekend, and I feel like it needs to be spoken about. So, Ohio State had 7 players in, from Caleb Wilson in the class of 2025, a player you've heard of, to a bunch of 2026 prospects. I want to cover that right now. Start of the show. I constantly get requests, hey, can you do more on recruiting? Can you do more on recruiting? Here's more on recruiting. You're welcome. So, Ohio State had a bunch of visitors. We'll start with Caleb Wilson, class of 2025. He's a 5-star player on 3. He's a 5-star plus, whatever the heck that means. And he's a top 10 player overall in the class of 2025. So I was shocked that Caleb Wilson was going to be on campus this weekend. I think I found out on maybe Saturday. I found out really late on this one. And as far as I'm aware, Caleb Wilson is going to be a Kentucky Wildcat. I hate to let the cat out of the bag here. As far as I'm aware right now, the talk that I've heard is that it's Kentucky, it's Caleb Wilson, making sure everything in the NIL world is working out. And if so, he's going to be a Wildcat and joining Big Blue Nation. Why was he at Ohio State? I don't know. There's too much going on right now. I didn't even ask about Caleb Wilson in terms of people I chat with over the weekend, stuff like that. Maybe he's just making sure that Kentucky's a spot. Maybe he wants to make sure he's not having buyer's remorse. I don't know. But he was at Ohio State. At this point, I have no expectation that he'll end up a Buckeye, but the fact that he's back on campus, can't be a bad thing. Or maybe he just wanted to catch a game against 2 blue bloods in the football world between Ohio State and Nebraska. So not much on him. 4-star from North Carolina, Caldwell Academy. Small forward Cole Clower was there as well. Now he's been he received an offer from Ohio State months ago. I don't think it's been a year at this point, but he got offered by Ohio State a fair amount of time ago. I believe Ohio State feels like they're in a pretty good spot to be competitive with him. I don't think a commitment is coming anytime soon. It's pretty new there. So cool. He was on campus. Marcus Johnson, by the way, was also on campus. Class of 2026, committed to Ohio State. Have fun, Marcus. Hope you enjoyed the visit. And then you've got Tristan Reed. Tristan Reed was a brand new name to me as well. I believe on Saturday, he received an offer from Ohio State this weekend. Very exciting. Make sure you follow Tristan Reed on Twitter, on Instagram, whenever he's tweeting. Throw a couple, technically they're chestnut emojis. They're not actually Buckeyes. Throw the chestnut emojis under his tweets and give him some love. And then Justin Caldwell, he's a 4-star, he's a 3-star, he's a 4-star, depending where you look. I'm going to call him a 4-star player out of North Carolina as well. And as far as I'm aware, the visit went well. I would say that he would say the visit went even great. Yes, I would say that he would say that. Wink, wink. I think he likes the players. I think he likes the coaches. I think he also likes the atmosphere there at Ohio State, the fan base. A lot of moaning and groaning over the football game this weekend. I get that. I'm an Ohio State guy, big football fan as well. Of course, I don't pretend to traffic in that area and understand all the ins and outs of that program. Fans are a little fussy right now on the football side, and hopefully it won't be that way when it comes to basketball. But he said the fans definitely stood out in terms of how supportive they are. So, no leaders yet for Justin Caldwell. Ohio State most likely is going to be up there for him. So keep your eye on him. And then last one we'll cover here is Dejon Hall. Dejon Hall is a 3-star player out of Indiana, I believe. He has now been on multiple unofficial visits with Ohio State. He's yet to get an offer. I'm told the offer should be on its way as long as he takes care of business this upcoming season. He said he loved the coach's energy. The environment was great, all those types of things. And again, the offer should come at some point. So this is a player that maybe will rise up to a 4-star rating. We'll see. Maybe Ohio State likes him, but they're still waiting at this point to send an offer out. So they had a few visits, one already committed to Ohio State, a bunch of 2026 prospects. I wanted to get that out of the way early. Recruiting intel, nobody asked it, so I guess I will. Okay. If you're watching on YouTube, you see my papers. I complained about my printer. I don't know how I fixed it. I didn't touch it. I unplugged it. No, I powered it off and then I powered it back on. Then it updated and it is no longer jammed. So we are thankful for that. All right. Let's get into some more questions now from people who are not me. Okay. At Brutus98 _ is the first question we'll start with here. At what point in the season will you feel like you have a relatively good grasp on who this team is and their ceiling? Thank you for the question at Brutus98 _ So here's the thing. Here's the thing about Ohio State. Let's look at last year to this year. So there is a lot of roster turnover. You've got 3 freshmen on the team. Yes, Ivan Nigaman counts as a freshman. You've got 5 transfers. So you've got 8 newcomers total. And not just that, this coaching staff is brand new. Yeah, Ohio State had the chance to be with Jake Diebler for 11 games or so as an interim head coach. That's great. He's still new. This is still a new summer. This is still a new offseason for Jake Diebler. Now, the reality is that this is kind of the state of college basketball and college athletics in general with the transfer portal. You're going to have brand new players. You're going to have brand new coaching staffs a lot, but especially because of the transfer portal, you have brand new players a lot on rosters, a lot of turnover. But it's not just the fact that Jake Diebler is a new head coach. You've got Taylor Battle, Joel Justice are your 2 primary recruiters outside of head coach Jake Diebler. They are brand new. Dave Dickerson is back at Ohio State, but he's never interacted with anyone on this staff other than maybe Quadrian Branks, the strength and conditioning coach, and maybe Terrence Styles. Outside of that, there's no connection there other than obviously with Jake Diebler. But with these players, there's absolutely no connection. So you have a brand new roster, you have a brand new coaching staff, and then let's look back to last season. So I was ready to go semi-viral with this post. There was a point last season where Ohio State was the only team in Division I college basketball, almost 400 schools. No team had won 7 games in a row by 10 points or more other than Ohio State at one point last season. That was a stretch where they took down, I think, like a Central Michigan or maybe a Western Michigan and Santa Clara and Alabama. And remember, they picked up big wins. They were really hot, first of all. So we had that going for us where as a fan base, collectively, fans were saying, why is this team not ranked yet by the AP poll? This team is a top 25 team. They're playing really, really well. And one week the rankings would come out and you'd say, all right, well, I guess they'll win this week. And next week, surely they'll be ranked. No, Ohio State was never ranked last season. But you pick up that huge win over Alabama where you put up over 90 points. I think they won that game by exactly 10 points. You crushed Santa Clara as well during the whatever tournament that was, Thanksgiving type of tournament down in Florida. Yeah, the hiccup, it's an understatement to call it that against Penn State. You blow an 18-point lead, but whatever. You get back on the saddle, you beat UCLA, you take care of New Orleans, for example, and you head into the new year. You're heading into 2024 with an overtime win over West Virginia, and fans, again, are wondering, why is this team not ranked? That was last season. I say all that to say we were at January 3rd when Ohio State played Rutgers, I believe it was, to kick off 2024, and fans thought this team should be ranked. Did I think the team should be ranked? Yeah, it would have been nice. That would have been cool. But this team was not ranked, and we were in January, and we had no idea what was coming for us, did we, younger Buckeye fans at that point? Here's the good thing, okay? Even with all the turnover, even with how we didn't know what this team was in January of 2024, last season, you have Bruce Thornton. Bruce Thornton is there. Bruce Thornton is your leader. Bruce Thornton is your captain. He's a guy that is expected to carry the load. But the fact is this is a major concern for Ohio State now, is the gelling. So will we know what Ohio State is after they play Texas? Absolutely not. I don't think anyone expects to. But even as you look ahead to Pitt on Black Friday, well, you know what this team is at that point? No, you're still not going to know who they are at that point, even after Pitt against Kentucky in or the game before Christmas, are you going to know who this team is? Still probably not. I think it's going to take a while. I think it's going to be a couple of months before you really know what this Ohio State team is. And to be fair, I think it's hard to know who this Ohio State team really is until you get into at least 4, 5, 6 games into January in the Big Ten, where you've really got a better gauge for how Ohio State will match up with the Big Ten. Matching up with teams outside the conference is one thing. Matching up with teams inside the Big Ten is a whole nother story, especially with how this team matches up. So I would say we're probably looking at mid-January when Ohio State's hopefully hosting a national title trophy in the college football world. I think about that time we'll know who Ohio State is in regards to basketball. Okay. Got a question from Facebook. Yeah. Are you following there? Have you liked on Facebook? If you're feeling guilty, if you're feeling a little empty feeling in your stomach, that means you need to be on Facebook liking Views from the Shop podcast. No one is there. Literally, no, not literally, but basically no one is there. Come on. This question comes from Facebook. Trent Reed. Who's going to be the biggest surprise this season? I'm not going to bury the lead here. I'm going to tell you who I think the biggest surprise is going to be. Then I'm going to tell you why it's not going to be other players on this team. Then we'll get back to that biggest surprise. So after burying the lead for about 2 seconds, 6 seconds, Quez Glover is my selection to be the biggest surprise this season. Now, there are other players on this team who you may think of who could be the big surprise. Let me tell you why I think it's going to be Quez. First of all, if you've been focused on Ohio State football, if you're frustrated with Ohio State's win over Nebraska, if you're very nervous and maybe excited about Ohio State's game against Penn State, welcome to the show. Come on in. Welcome. And if that's you, Quez Glover may be a brand new name to you. Now, other names that may come to mind for you, biggest surprise this year, maybe Devin Royal. The reason I don't take Devin Royal, number one, you know him a little bit from last season. He had a little baby breakout last year. He looked good. You like the progress that he showed. But as of right now, there's no expectation for him to start. Maybe as the season progresses, maybe he works his way in his starting lineup. At this point, I would kind of doubt it, but it's not impossible. But I don't think it's going to be Devin Royal because you know a little bit more about him. And I think that's kind of the popular choice to be the breakout player this year. I'm not taking Devin Royal. I think you also look at Sean Stewart, Aaron Bradshaw. Both these guys are going to start day one against Texas. And not only are they slotted into starters without really much competition there to start, but the expectation's already high enough for them already with them coming in from blue blood schools, former 5-star players. So I'm not taking those two. Junie Mobley is another name that you could definitely think about. He needs to improve defensively. Now, there's a lot of good about Junie Mobley. He's going to come in and he's going to play minutes. He's going to have the chance to hit some threes for Ohio State, but he's not going to step in and day one be a really, really solid defender. That's going to limit his minutes. So you then have the question as well about who else on this roster can you really go to? You know Bruce, you know Michi. I'm not going to go Micah Parrish. He's going to be starting, so that kind of leaves Quez Glover. He's fast. He's smart. I think he's got more trust. And Quez Glover is going to be the guy that I'm going to take as maybe the biggest surprise, the breakout player, the player with the stock up, where maybe the price to buy one stake in Bruce Thornton is $200. Maybe it's like 15 for Quez Glover. So let's take Quez, shall we? Let's parlay that question into a new question. And speaking of parlays, let's go there. So number one, you can use CBB Analytics, who is our exclusive sponsor of today's show, not just so you know college basketball better, but also because you can use it for sports betting this upcoming year, although they would not endorse me necessarily saying that potentially, but I've used it before to hit some banger bets. Here's the thing. Speaking of betting, parlaying. Yesterday, we cashed a plus 425 3-leg parlay in the NFL. We cashed a plus 270 straight, a plus 310 straight, a plus 190 straight, and a plus 6,332 parlay, and which I cashed out, I will admit that, a plus 425 parlay. Where's my big one? Where's the big one, guys? Okay. Well, this is kind of frustrating. Let me just, here it is. A plus 15,597. Are you kidding me? 4-leg parlay? Cash that in, put a couple bucks on it, get $500 out of it. I just wanted to brag there. Totally not worth it. Totally not worth it. All right. We're parlaying the previous question about your breakout player, biggest surprise. That's Quez Glover for me. Into a question from at Brody Knows Ball. That's a good follow on Twitter, by the way. You should be following there. Who gets more minutes versus Texas, Quez Glover or Judy Mobley? And I'm going with Quez Glover. I think this could potentially be a player who's getting more minutes than maybe anyone who's not a starter. Dare I say it? I dare. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I do think that Quez Glover has got more trust than maybe some people realize. He's going to get a lot of playing time, and I think Quez Glover is going to play more than Junie in the backcourt against Texas. All right. So there's been some talk about this. It's not a scandal, but it's close. Niko Bundalo. Can we talk about him for a second? So there's been I give some intel. If you're not in this community in Twitter, you should be, or sorry, on X. Let me get the exact name. I'm sure you know about it. The Courtside Buckeyes. You should be there just for what it's worth. Check my Twitter as well for any additional questions. Not that I'd probably be able to hit it, but got to check. There's been some discourse, and I shared because Twitter won't freaking approve me to have a subscription open so that I can share more classified information, but still share it at a small investment from you. Help support the show. Apparently that's never going to happen because Twitter, it's been months that I've been waiting on some verification on that. Whatever. It's fine. Some questions about Niko Bundalo. So Amari Bynum commits to Ohio State last week. You can look at the video that I put out kind of talking about Niko. I said it the day that Amari Bynum committed to Ohio State. I said Ohio State is out on Niko Bundalo. I said it, and then it came out, I think yesterday, that Niko Bundalo, maybe Saturday, but I think yesterday, that Niko Bundalo was going to be reopening his recruitment. And he wouldn't be going to Ohio State. He's not going to Michigan State. He's not going to UConn. He's not going to North Carolina, even. These were the four big schools that Niko Bundalo had targeted, had zoned in on, and he's not going anywhere. And I told you that Ohio State felt that Amari Bynum was a better fit than Niko Bundalo. Now, I read between the lines, and I posted this in the community there, that, look, I'm reading between the lines. I think this is more so a cultural fit than a player type of fit, because Niko Bundalo, obviously, as a player, would have fit in at Ohio State. So you're telling me, Ohio State, that you chose Amari Bynum, a guy, top 100 fringe player, over Niko Bundalo, a near 5-star player, top 25 player in the nation? How could that be? I ask. And again, I read between the lines. I think it's culturally the fit. So this has been a weird type of recruitment, has Niko Bundalo's been. My understanding, it's the cultural fit. It's not his direct family per se that is making things complicated, but there are some people close to Niko Bundalo that's making this recruitment somewhat really difficult, I would say. And I think that I don't know the background with UConn or with Michigan State. I have no details there whatsoever. I'm just, again, reading between the lines there. And also knowing and kind of guessing what happened with Ohio State. I think Niko Bundalo, he overstayed his welcome with Ohio State. The Buckeyes were ready to move. They needed a commitment from Niko. They needed to know, what do we need to do at power forward in the class of 2025? They're not hearing back a definitive answer from Niko Bundalo. So because of that, I think Ohio State kind of moves on. They say, Amari, do you want to join? Amari says yes, and Amari Bynum takes Niko Bundalo's spot. Niko Bundalo, apparently, Louisville is a big player there. Wouldn't that just make sense based on everything else that's going on at Louisville right now, which is not good? So that's kind of a short story behind what happened with Niko Bundalo and why Amari Bynum is at Ohio State. All right. Derek Jones, another question from Facebook asking, which players stood out in the scrimmage? So here's the thing about Ohio State taking on Ohio in a secret scrimmage. I don't think I even shared that level of detail on the pod. I shared it in the community on Twitter. I said Ohio State has a scrimmage against Ohio, and that will take place on October 27th on Sunday. And for what it's worth, Ohio, I believe, was picked first. They're voted to finish first in the MAC this season. Ohio is not a bad team in the MAC and in the mid majors. So there's that. I'm not about to be the first person to leak a final score. I didn't even get a box score. I asked for one, and I was told, let me pull this up for you here, just so I don't get this wrong. Quote, 0% chance in regards to me getting a box score. So how about that? I don't know everyone. I don't know everything, but I'm not getting a box score from that game. So Ohio State won. I'm not leaking a score. I'm not leaking anything like that. Here's what I can tell you. The defense was good. The defense is a concern for Ohio State. We're going to talk about that more this week. That is a concern. I'm told that the defense looked good against Ohio in this one. This was a situational scrimmage that was played over 4 quarters, not 2 halves, which is why? I don't know. I'd love some feedback on why you would do that. Why not just play 2 20-minute halves? But oh well. Aaron Bradshaw did play. He suffered the head injury. I never confirmed that it was concussion. That would kind of be my guess. But this has been a tight-lipped thing. There's no score. I sent a text out and I asked, hey, did anyone impress in today's scrimmage? That text to this point has not been read. Therefore, it has not been answered. Therefore, we move on. Sorry, I don't have better details. All right. Who's the first off the bench against Texas? Wonders at Eric 2267364. Fan of the show for a while. Thanks, Eric. So, first player off the bench against Texas, my guess is going to be Quez Glover or Devin Royal. I would guess probably because you rotate a little bit more there in the front court early on. Probably Devin Royal would be my guess. He calls this a prop bet. If you can bet this market anywhere, have fun. And I would take Devin Royal. And if you can get both at plus money, I'm taking Devin Royal. And I'm also taking Quez Glover, and we'll be profitable either way because I think those two are going to be the first off the bench is my guess. Foul trouble kind of makes it impossible to guess. Again, foul trouble, defense, concern for Ohio State this season. At least on this pod it is. So who knows? I'm not putting money on it if I could, but I would say probably Devin Royal, maybe Quez Glover. All right, at Dom Polk 23. He double dipped, which I don't necessarily condone, but I'm allowing it, so I guess I condone it. Should we be feeling pretty confident in our chances against Texas? Well, I don't know, Dom, because I'm not on the team. Therefore, I can't say our chances. But I will say this, pretty confident? No, I don't feel pretty confident in Ohio State beating Texas. Sorry, I don't want to rain on your parade. It's a Monday. Hopefully, you're having a great start. Truly, I do hope that you're having a great start to the week. I hope you're not stressed out or anything like that. I hope you get a blessing sent your way. But I'm not pretty confident about Ohio State beating Texas. So Texas in a secret scrimmage beat Colorado yesterday, 79-75. That said, Colorado is ranked 80th in KenPom and 110th in Bart Torvik rankings as well. Texas, I believe, is going to be at worst a top 20, top 25 team this year. KenPom, Bart Torvik, I think they're like 11th there. And as I kind of talked about last week, 15th best portal class, 17th best freshman class. Only 5 teams are in the top 20 of both of those when it comes to this upcoming season. And they've got some good names, of course. Look, I don't want us to live under a rock. We're going to get into this Texas preview on Sunday. That's going to be a big show, I hope. I don't want us to live under a rock, though. Ohio State is better than last season. They've done a lot of good things, but that doesn't mean other teams haven't done a lot of good things either. There's a lot of talent on this Texas team. I'm not going to say I'm confident Ohio State's going to win. Pretty confident? Absolutely not. We'll get into that more on Sunday. Make sure you listen to the show. Bookmark that in your mind and be ready to listen on Sunday or watch on Sunday or listen or watch on Monday as well before Ohio State plays. I mean, they play at 10 o'clock. What else are you going to do at freaking 9 o'clock at night? You're going to watch some basketball. You're probably going to order some wings and drink some coffee, and you might as well throw on this podcast. Why wouldn't you? Another question from Dom, condoning your behavior, I guess. So he says, I feel like there are many reasons to feel confident in Ohio State. I like our team, but the Cincy scrimmage got me nervous. Is that a bad overreaction? Another shout out at Dom Polk 2023. Is that a bad overreaction? That's probably too many words for me to understand exactly what you mean by that. But no, I don't think it's really an overreaction. Now, I was really impressed with the calm nature of Ohio State basketball fans after Ohio State got clobbered by Cincinnati. in an exhibition. I expected this fan base, which has been very, very frustrated. They've been frustrated with this program over the past several years. I expect the fan base to continue that frustration. Now, instead, that frustration wasn't really there. On a scale from 1 to 10, most people said 0, 1, 2, 3 is their concern level after Ohio State got their bottoms handed to them. Sorry to be crass, against Cincinnati. So, what I would say is this: Cincinnati is very good, first of all. I don't think people realize that. People need to be talking more about Cincinnati. I think this could be a top 20 team. And not only that, they've got a bunch of returning production as well, top 25 returning production, as mentioned on the show before. Here's the thing: Jake Diebler is not going to show anything in a scrimmage that is open to the public. It is for charity. It is not televised, lest it even be streamed. My goodness, Ohio State basketball can't get an exhibition streamed for charity? Come on. But he's not going to show anything in that game. Now, did he show probably more against Ohio? Yeah, I would guess that he did, but you get a little more leeway because it's only a week before the season. You want it to feel a little bit more real, and you don't have a bunch of eyes there watching, although, of course, it was obviously filmed. Here's the thing. I don't feel confident that Ohio State's going to beat Texas. I don't feel confident that Ohio State's going to come out kicking and screaming to start the season. They could get hot, and that would be absolutely phenomenal for the Buckeyes. I think it's going to take some time. Is it an overreaction? Be concerned slightly about how Ohio State fared against Cincinnati? No, not at all. I got a good question here. It's a good question. I don't have an answer for it. I'm digging and I'm working on it. If I get an answer, I will send it out in DMs. So thank you, Will Grabavock, for that question. All right. Last question here, and then we are out of here. This one comes from @Mark Leffel on Twitter. Do you see Sean Stewart playing minutes at the 5 when Aaron Bradshaw, is on the bench and he's on the floor with Royal? All right. So let me just make sure I got this right here. So you got Stewart at the 5, you got Royal at the 4, and Bradshaw's on the bench. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I see that happening. Look, a lot of the guys on this roster are going to be somewhat interchangeable. Evan Mahaffey can't go play center this year unless you're playing another team that wants to go small ball, but he's listed at 6'6". Okay, for goodness sake. I don't want Evan Mahaffey playing the center again this year like he did last year, but he defended really well, and he defended up to his height, past his height when he was down there in the post. Very strong, young man coming into his junior season. But if you got Sean Stewart, Devin Royal on the floor at the same time, Stewart playing the 5, Royal playing the 4, maybe you got Parrish at the 3, and some combination there at the 2 and the 1, it's definitely possible. And if you are not going to be interchangeable, if you're not going to do what Diebler wants in terms of being able to run up and down the floor, Diebler doesn't want to play against set defenses, so he wants to run. He wants to shoot threes. The guys who can run, they're going to be on the floor. If you cannot contribute to that, I don't think that they're going to be on the floor as much, and you can read into that as much as you would like. But yes, Sean Stewart could be playing the 5 while Devin Royal plays the 4, again, because Ohio State wants to spread things out. They want good spacing, and that's how the Buckeyes want to play this year. Alrighty, so that's a mailbag episode if I've ever seen one or heard one. I had a brief pause there. I think we're back. Apologies about that. Not sure if we were connected there or not, but hopefully didn't miss anything. Apologies for that. But the good thing is that this show is over, so I can fold up this paper and be done with it. This is the mailbag. Here's what you've got coming for you later on this week on Wednesday. Again, special guest. Make sure you're around. Make sure you watch or listen to the show. We're going to talk about our biggest observations, concerns, changes coming to this upcoming season for Ohio State basketball. On Friday, it is a full prediction show. I'm going to predict Ohio State's record. Yeah, I'm going to be wild and predict their record, which will be impossible. I'm going to do it anyway because I'm a student of the game, I guess. And I'm going to predict some Big Ten awards, Big Ten champion, Final Four, and a national champion as well. I'll predict, will Ohio State make the NCAA tournament? If so, what will their seed be and how far will they make it? All those types of things and more. Big time predictions extravaganza on Friday before on Sunday, less than a week away, we will be releasing the Ohio State against Texas preview again. Make sure you are on YouTube for that one. Subscribe. That's going to be a big show. It's going to be a good show, and we're excited for that. Plus, one other thing, just so you know, the plan right now, I'll tell you this right now. The plan right now is going to be live shows on YouTube after every game, in which it's possible for me this season, which means that the show that you would typically get, like a Texas review show, you would typically get the night of or the morning after the game, you're going to get that live on YouTube, and that'll start streaming 10, 15, 20 minutes after the game. So you will get that, first of all. Also, my plan is Sunday to do a live show. The first ever Views from the Shop podcast live show on YouTube. We're going to go live to preview Ohio State versus Texas. So that's why I recommend that you be subscribed. I've obviously hinted at that. Subscribe. So please do that. It helps the show. And before long, we'll be up to a beautiful number of subscriptions and be able to do even more stuff. That's true. I need more subscriptions in order to be able to do more with you. I'm limited by YouTube. Sorry. So please do that. Alrighty. Great show today. Great pace. We'll see you back on Wednesday. I appreciate you listening to today's show more than you can ever understand. And no, I will shut up before you shut me off. Go Bucks.